Hello and welcome to Web of Light. I'm Dr. Kevin, your host, and my co-host for the month is going to be none other than Lori Otto. Hey Lori, how are you?
I am wonderful, Dr. Kevin. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
For those of you who have not seen the show that Lori and I did last year, where she was a treasured guest talking about female empowerment, before Wonder Woman came out, before Me Too came out, before they just, the Black Panther with all of the female Amazon warriors kicking butt, you were talking about the power of women. It was like you were...
It's all because of me. I'm going to go with that.
I'm okay with that. I got to blame, I mean, I got to credit somebody. And so... So Lori's going to be joining us. You may, if you haven't seen the show, you definitely want to see it. It was a great show. Lori is just winding down her regular gig as co-host with Norm and Friends.
Yes.
Bringing some new adventures into your life, Lori?
I am. I have just finished writing a new book. It's in final edits.
Great.
The illustrator's still working on the illustrations, but hopefully that'll be out by the end of the month. That's our goal.
And the title is?
The title, the working title right
I get
now
it.
is Mother Earth is Dying, but We Can Save Her.
Great. Well, look forward to it. We'll have to have you on my Dragons, Unicorns, and Other Creative Creatures show once it's on to interview you so my partner in crime there, Rona, and I can introduce you from the artistic perspective.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. I'd like that. It's
Yeah.
a good book. It really is, even if I do say so myself.
Hey, you know, false modesty never got anybody anything.
Well, I worked really hard on it, so I'm proud of it.
As you should be. So for those of you that have been with us on Web of Light for a long time, and you know that we used to always start the show with a quote, I'm bringing that back. But I do want to let people know that you can write to me at Dr. Kevin, D-R-K-E-V-I-N, at weboflight.com. If you would have a quote you want to share, if there's some guest you'd like to see us have on, we can actually Skype people in, so they don't have to be local to the area. We haven't done it yet. There's a few floating in the air that we would do that with. We also want to know if you've joined our Web of Light family. Web of Light is now being carried on public access channels from Maine to California.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Not all of them by a long shot.
But still, you're all across the country and seen all around the world.
Yeah. And we don't get notified when a new place picks us up until we hear from somebody. So if you've joined Web of Light even in the last couple of months, send us an email so we can welcome you and tell us what you'd like us to cover, what conversations you'd like us to have. If you're going to invite us into your living room, I supply the coffee, the guest, and the wisdom. You can supply the topic. I think that's fair.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I think it's wonderful.
So today's quote I wanted to start with was, remember this about the Korean War. The men were drafted, the women volunteered.
Very true.
It was said by Loretta Swit. Do you remember who Loretta Swit was?
Yes, she was on MASH.
Yes. And I thought that was very very interesting because her character, Major Houlihan, would have volunteered because back then they would not send women to a war zone.
That's right. And that is something that many people forget. I think that's wonderful.
And I wanted to pair that up with a great little, with a great quick snap that I found today of something. There is a 93-year-old grandmother in Noventa, Vicenza, Italy, which I probably just murdered, who is heading to Kenya to volunteer at an orphanage.
Wow, God bless her. That's amazing.
She has
wonderful.
Been donating money for years, but felt like she needed to do even more for these orphans in Kenya. There was a picture of her, going down, get on the plane to go down there at 93 and help orphans.
Well, see, that goes back to our last show. Women changing the world, taking a stand and making a difference.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons I wanted to share that, and then we're going to get on with today's astrology program. We'll bring on our one and only Web of Light astrologer, Miss Dorothy, It's a time when a lot of people are trying to figure out how to maneuver a world which is challenging to them.
Yes.
And one of the ways to become empowered is to go out there and do something for somebody who truly doesn't have the power to do it on their own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't agree more.
And I really think that there are, I think that there's a lot of places where if women had been in larger positions of power for a longer period of time, we would not have as many of the messes that we have now.
I 100% agree with that. And history bears that out.
Yep. So now we're going to welcome Miss Dorothy. I want to welcome Miss Dorothy by saying that I'm going to read her title because I can't remember it, and it's a great title, and it's a little long, and I don't want to screw it up. You can come and have meet Miss Dorothy and talk to her because she's going to be at the Web of Light Expo,
Yes.
as you are.
Yes, I am. Yes, I'll be there.
And that's Earth Day weekend at the
Yes.
Courtyard Marriott. And she is going to be speaking on, do you like change or do you like things to stay the same? And she's talking about how Uranus, the Lord of Change, is moving into a new sign the first time in 7 years. So we're talking about getting more women to change the world,
Yep.
making a difference in the world. And Uranus is moving into Taurus, which is a feminine sign.
There you go.
So, how are you doing?
Hi.
And what's up? What's going on in this time? And what's the astrology going to be around the Web of Light Expo?
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, that's in the Taurus, so we'll get to that next month.
Oh, that's right, because this is Aries. Duh.
That's all right. Aries really doesn't like to be missed, you know, because he's like ready to charge in, pay attention to me, let's do what we got to do. So it's kind of like the quote that you said, you know, it all comes together, because you tend to do that anyways. But the spring equinox, which is March 20th, and this year it's at 12:15 p.m. this East Coast time. And that's the moment the sun enters the sign of Aries. And Aries is about initiating action, taking action, and just going for whatever it is that we want. And it's like the women volunteered. I mean, Aries is a very masculine, assertive, aggressive sign, but still, anyone can use it in any way that they want to, by being assertive, being aggressive, standing up for what we want, standing up for what's right. And so the day that the sun enters the sign of Aries, first off, Northern Hemisphere, we're all like, woohoo, spring, you know. Woo. Spring is on the way. We can tell by the sun. It's actually, if you live on the equator, this is the day that the sun looks like it's standing still, because it's just straight overhead.
Oh, very
So
cool.
the day of Aries and the day of Libra. It's right at the equator for a very, very long time. It barely moves. So it's pretty nice. It's pretty cool. So, you know, it doesn't really stand still, but it has that look. So, you know, and so you think about it, you know, the sun is really bright and shining on us. So what is it that we want to do? What do we want to, where do we want to take charge? And up until now, you know, all through March, basically we had just a ton of Pisces stuff, which, you know, the end of February all the way into March, I mean, we had a boatload, 5 planets all together in the sign of Pisces, which is overwhelming with emotion. We're feeling incredible highs and lows, a lot of people. And even here in New England, we had a massive nor'easter just the day within the time that the Pisces, the Neptune and the sun were all together, Venus and Mercury, and it was just like massive amounts of water.
And you warned us that this could happen.
I did.
You did. You could go back and look at our show on the time of Pisces, and she talked about that.
The weather can be really intense at moments when we have all of these pile up. I mean, the sun is always in Pisces the same time every year. It's always in Aries the same time every year. It shifts just a little bit. But for the most part, not all of these guys are piled up together. And so we now have boatloads of energies in the sign of Aries. So the very day, so hopefully we'll air this early enough, that the very day that the sun enters the sign of Aries, the sun enters Aries on March 20th, we also have Mercury He's the Lord of our communication. He's the one that's always about chatting and talking and moving around in our neighborhood, driving, and just all the day-to-day activities that make us feel really busy. And we're always very excited to talk about what we want. Is also conjunct Venus in Aries. Now, Venus in Aries is aggressive. This is a female energy that is very aggressive. It's not just assertive, it's pushy. Venus is not necessarily, excuse me, happy in this zodiac sign. I mean, she gets what she wants, but it feels incredibly masculine. So, Mercury, the Lord of communication, Venus, what we love, what we value, conjunct early in the morning, it's just after midnight, the day that the sun moves into Aries as well. So all of this means there's a lot of assertion and a lot of energy. It's just after a new moon, so we're still in that waxing lunar phase as well. So we have a lot of energy to use on this day. It is so busy, so busy.
So are people likely to have a hard time sleeping that night? Is the dreams going to be very active, or are people going to like kind of wake up with a lot on their mind, or just tend to wake up a little earlier that morning?
I
maybe
think you
before?
will. I think it'll be I think we'll be, for the most part, not everybody, of course, but if you're somebody who has an active mind to begin with, since these two guys are conjunct in the middle of the night, it's just after midnight on the East Coast, so depending on where you live, it could be 9, 10, 11 p.m., depending on where you are in the country. But yeah, we're going to be thinking about what it is we need to do tomorrow. It's really what it comes down to. It's just so that's a Tuesday, so it's just an active day. So really, it always is, but just keep an eye on it, and just if you need, just write stuff down, because we're not going to be able to do everything we think we want to do on that day. It's just not going to happen. It's just going to be too much going on.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. We also have, let me look at my notes, because I wrote so much here, and they're not organized as I wanted them to be.
So do you know where your Mercury is, Lori?
I have no idea.
No idea. See, mine's in Leo, so
Very
Leo
fiery.
and Aries, because
Yeah.
they're both fire sign, are going to kind of ding each other.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, boing!
Yeah, it really is. It really does make a lot of work. So we also have, as soon as the sun enters the sign of Aries, later, a couple days later, what happens is it actually connects with Mars in Capricorn. And so this first week of Aries, so within the 20th to the 27th, whenever a planet moves into a new zodiac sign, even the moon, but that happens all the time, but the slower planets, the first aspect they make to whatever other planet out there kind of gives it the flavor of it this time around. So the sun in Aries makes a connection to Mars in Capricorn. Mars is the ruler of Aries. So Capricorn is about building and taking what is really, what we have, the plans, schedules, things that we really want to work hard on, and it's giving us that energy to do it. So what can happen, and the flavor of this time of Mars and Aries is about building what it is our long-term goals are, even though Mars and the sign of Aries is not necessarily about long-term goals. It's about, what do I need to do right now? So this feels like opposite energies, right? But it's not. Mars is exalted in the sign it's in. The sun is loves the sign it's in right now, and so we can set long-term goals and then just boom, done. Now focus on what you need to do today to make one step towards that long-term goal. So this first whole week of Aries, and really all of Aries, one of the underlying themes is that long-term goals, but what is my step right now? Because sometimes we can get overwhelmed. I know I can. If I'm looking at too many long-term goals, I'm like, I don't even know where to start sometimes.
Long-term goals? Does that mean they're more than 5 minutes away?
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
That's what it means.
I hate it when that happens.
Right? Yep. No.
So let me ask you a question as
Yes.
you have been extremely right on for months now every time you say anything about what's coming up with weather. You warned us about the supermoon in January. You warned us about this last thing. In that first week, because let's face it, the weather's been screwy.
Oh,
Yeah.
to put it mildly.
70-degree days, snow, 20-degree days,
I
70
know.
degrees days.
Oh my gosh, isn't that crazy?
All over the place. Is there any, are we going to really be seeing spring at that point?
I think so. I think so. I haven't really dug into it this time around. I'm sorry. So
It's okay.
maybe I'll be wrong. But typically when we have everything shifting from all this watery Pisces, rain, nor'easters, wind, all of that, and all of a sudden everybody, not everybody, but a lot of energy is in fire signs. Fire is heat. It's hot and dry. So Aries is hot and dry, I think, because each of the zodiac signs have that characteristic, right? And it gives us the feel of the weather for the season. I haven't done a chart. I didn't do a chart for spring for New England. I didn't even think of it. But since since the sun enters Aries at noon, I'm pretty sure that Aries is at the midheaven. That's pretty close. And the angles are important in astrology, in weather astrology. So it's probably we're going to be a little warmer than usual. I don't know what the Farmer's Almanac says, but I think we'll be a little warmer than usual, which is fine.
The first weekend, that first weekend of Aries, everybody plan on 70 to 75 degree weather, go hiking.
There you go.
We'll all be dancing. It's time to go plant our gardens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So, but here comes the news that everybody always freaks out about.
I bet it's Mercury's going retrograde.
It's Mercury goes retrograde.
That Mercury.
Hey,
I didn't tell him. He may have paid
That
attention, but who
Mercury.
knows?
you know me, I don't pay for anything. No.
So we do have that. March 22nd, the first retrograde shows up, and that's retrograde Mercury, in the sign of Aries. When Mercury retrogrades in Aries. I mean, first off, I wanted to give you a little more info. So that's just that first whole week. Mercury and Venus are together. Oh my God, if you can go out in the night sky, by the time this airs, it might be a little late, but we can see in the evening, about 20 to 30 minutes after the sun sets, if you look west, you can see Venus and Mercury are right next to each other. That doesn't happen very often, to be able to see them at the same time. Because lots of times they are near the sun because they're inside our orbit. So they are always near the sun, but we can't always see them because they're too close to the sun, whether it's nighttime or daytime. And so these guys together, it's like siblings. It's something I've got in my written forecast. It's like siblings, this Venus and this Mercury, that are always chasing each other, always arguing, always just never quiet, never stopping. So they're constantly chasing each other. Mercury and Venus have been chasing each other since January. They've been within a certain amount of degrees where they're always back and forth with each other. And now Mercury's finally going retrograde. First time this year in the fire signs. That'll be his theme this year. And so we need to really watch how the action that we take, even though we know we want, like I just said, let's take some action towards those long-term goals. Yeah, well, we might have to back it up just a little bit and, regroup and make the decision again with different information over the next 3 to 6 weeks while Mercury is retrograding and then retracing its steps.
So, Lori, I just want to make you aware of something here because
Okay.
we've had a running thing for. Well, you've been doing the show for. Well, you started with us the first, yeah. So we're coming up to our we're coming up to the beginning of our third year in June.
Congratulations.
Yeah. See, she looks at Venus and Mercury as siblings, and then every now and then Dorothy will make a little comment about romance and stuff like this, and it'd be nice to find romance. Now I'm thinking, okay, so this is Venus flirting with Mercury, and then Mercury is going to chase back to Venus to say, okay, here I am, and then of course he's only going to get so close, and she's going to go.
Never mind.
Funny thing is, that is exactly what I was thinking while she was talking. It sounds more like lovers to me.
See, so this is why we're married and you're single. You look at it as siblings. We both are.
Yeah, but if it was Venus and Mars, I would have leaned towards that. I would have, but it's not Venus and Mars.
I got a lot of siblings. I ain't chasing none of them.
Yes. You're not back and forth with your siblings. I've got 5 siblings. I've got 1 or 2 of them that we're always like back and forth. It's not like arguing, but it's like no, how about this? No, how about that? I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
See, I can only go back and forth with my brothers if I want to do mediumship because they're both dead. So.
Oh no.
How many brothers do you want? I have 3.
I had 2. they're now both in
Right.
wherever.
So I have 3 on this side. Take it.
Do you want to get rid of them so well? Yeah, no.
Take all of them.
So go ahead.
All right. All right. So maybe it is that. We'll give you that too. So for some people it will be about love and relationships and come here, no, go away, you're too close. Come here, no, go away, you're too close, because we also have on the 28th of March, this is just going to be for a couple of days, but Venus makes a connection with Uranus in the sign of Aries. Venus in Aries, it's about being strong and independent woman, right? We don't need anybody. But then that Uranus is just all about complete and total independence. So it could be that, you're trying to decide if you're going to stay wherever your Aries is, you're going to stay in this relationship or you're going to stay in this circumstance, whatever you're trying to make a decision about. Well, on the March 28th, what can happen is we can make a decision just like that, turn on a dime, 180 degrees, and go the other direction. So a lot of people, I know we're talking relationships or contracts, any of these things, because those are Mercury-related things, since Mercury and Venus are together, because Mercury connects with Uranus. Actually, no, he doesn't quite get there because he just went retrograde, but he's still in the same department. They can still hear each other.
That's Strumpet Venus. She lures the young boy Mercury, like, come
young
experience
man.
an older woman. Then she runs over and she flirts with Uranus, and the whole time Mars is over there somewhere else watching. I mean, this is the soap opera of the gods.
It is. It's so fun. It's so fun. But how you're going to play it out, we're using specific words like relationships and people flirting and breaking up. But you know what? You have to think about it too is in regards to any other category in your life. Maybe you're trying to make a business decision. Maybe you're trying in your career to say, should I, do some more schooling to go do this, or what should I do? Because we also have the Sun squaring Saturn in that same time period. It's on the 29th. And Saturn, the Sun in Aries, what action am I going to take? And Saturn in Capricorn is all about, what does that long-term goal look like? And when you guys were talking in the beginning, the words you were saying that were a lot of the key words were relating to Aries and Capricorn. Mars is there too in Capricorn. Mars and Saturn in Capricorn, all these other guys are in Aries. These are all cardinal signs, all about initiating new action. And since the Sun and Saturn are square during the time Venus is with Uranus, it really is. It's like we're trying to make decisions based on our long-term goals. Again, that overall theme, but we're being really impulsive. So even if we make the wrong decision, it's never the wrong decision, because it's just, you learn from it. I play this stupid little fish game on my iPad, right? It's just mindless something. And even if I know I'm not winning and this is a really hard level, I'm like, well, what am I learning about this game so I can figure it out the next time I play? So even if you may have made a wrong decision, just know it's like, okay, well, next time I come up against the same type of decision, what have I learned? So just remember that. That's that Capricorn. Saturn's going to be in Capricorn for 3 years, and started on December 19th, 2017. So we got 3 years of this, of breaking down and releasing what is not part of our long-term plan now. And all these planets, as they're fast-moving planets, come in and make angles and all these different things that mean nothing to most of us. It just means that every decision we make every day is going to help us towards those long-term goals. Everything right now is really, when everything's in Aries, it's connecting with everything in Capricorn. A lot of change.
So what I get from what you're saying is for people not to think of this just individually, but this is community-wide, nationwide, globally.
It's both.
It's all of it.
All of it. But yes, think of it individually as well. So I'll clarify that. Yes, we're thinking of what are we doing in our own personal choices. We can't always think what the long-term picture is. We know we have long-term goals and what means stuff to us, whatever that is. We all have our own thing. But we still, as individuals, we have to remember we are individuals. There's a lot of movements in the world to change things on a large scale, but they start with the individual, and that's what the time of Aries reminds us of. It reminds us that we are still individuals making individual choices based on what we need. And being selfish and deciding what we need in that sense is fine. We have to do that. We can't make big choices based on what everybody else needs unless we need it to or want it to, because then we'll just be resentful.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with being selfish in that way. There's nothing wrong with it.
Well, you know, and we've on many times on this show talked about the fact that there is healthy selfish and
Yes.
unhealthy selfish.
Right.
Yep.
Healthy
Right.
selflessness and unhealthy selflessness.
Absolutely.
And you know, and you just have to be aware of the fact that, you know, all selfish is full of self, and if you're not full of self, how can you be any good to anyone else?
Exactly. Exactly. That's one of the first things I teach every client I have is that you have to have some degree of selfishness if you're going to give to anybody else.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just burn yourself out. You become angry and resentful, just like you just said.
Yeah.
It's healthy to have that selfishness to a degree.
And yeah, and sometimes this Aries energy, and we have so many things in Aries, you know, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Uranus, all in Aries, and we can get angry because Aries has a reputation for anger. Mars in Aries is all about anger, but usually we get angry because we're not doing what we want.
Right. We're not honoring ourselves.
Yeah, we have to. It's all Aries, key word, and this is so beautiful and spiritual, is I am.
Yes.
We have to do this.
Yep. So this means that when this is going on, I'm going to have a fight with Jeff.
Yeah.
We're going to break up for a few hours, then get back together, and then we can go on our second honeymoon because we got back together and I can go away for another 10 days. Is that what it means?
Yeah, and come on, you haven't even told me about your wonderful
Douchey. Yeah,
honeymoon.
carousel, sweetheart. Douchey means sweetheart.
Oh, I was wondering what that meant.
Yeah.
Because usually douchey doesn't mean sweetheart.
The iguana, yeah. Yeah, no. It means sweetheart in Papamento, which is one of the 4 languages they speak in Carousel.
Wow.
Can you have a better honeymoon than the one you just had?
No, the honeymoon was fabulous.
Nice.
I won't get into it too much, but we'll get into it more as the month goes on. I want to make sure all of Dorothy's astrology
Yeah.
stuff
Yes.
gets covered, but yeah.
So March 31st is talking about relationships and all of that. On March 31st, we have the full moon in Libra. So it's at 10 degrees of Libra, so the sun's in Aries, 10 degrees of Libra. But at the same time, oh, there's so much stuff. It's really interesting. There's days and days in this month of Aries where there's barely anything happening. But then there's certain other days where there are big things happening all at once. So we'll just kind of do clusters.
Hurry up
So-
and wait, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy. You know, anyways, so the first lunation in Aries, well, it's a full moon in Libra. The sun's in Aries, the moon's in Libra. We also have Venus entering Taurus on that day, her own sign. And in this same place, we also have the sun conjunct Mercury again. Well, Mercury's conjuncting the sun again. Mars and Saturn are coming together. There is so much. So all of that, I'll kind of try to encapsulate this, but there's a lot of info here. Full moon in Libra is about relationships. So maybe I have been a little selfish over the last 10 days while the sun has been in Aries and there's been no Libra energy about, well, what does my partner need? So you're kind of appropriate. You kind of jump the gun saying, well, maybe I'll just have a fight. So maybe somebody will say something to us, you know, those important relationships, not just spouses, but, you know, close friends, that people that you're really committed to, or a boss or a coworker, somebody that you're with regularly may just say, hey, hello, you know, let's think about what's good for other people too. So if we tip the scales too far with what I need, like you said, the relationships can be a little edgy for just a little while, just a little bit. Just wake up.
Dorothy loves how I set her up for her astrology. I do
It
this all the
does.
time.
It's his psychic stuff, you know.
I was gonna say,
that
what,
Cancer sun on my Mercury, his Cancer sun's on my Mercury, so he's like always like jump ahead. He doesn't get the forecast ahead of time. He doesn't. He just goes with it.
That's wonderful.
I know. That's Kevin. That's the way it works for us. And then, so with Venus in Taurus, she's in her own sign. So now she's much happier here. She really doesn't like being that aggressive, you know what. She really doesn't. She does
So she
not.
slips out of the armor and
Yes.
into the negligee.
Yes.
Ooh.
Exactly what she does. Because
like it.
Venus in Taurus is all about what we value, what we love, what we think is beautiful. Venus rules Taurus and Libra. And so the day she's in her own sign, the moon is also in her sign in Libra. So this is all about relationship. There is a shift going on now in relationships since Venus has been in Aries for 3 weeks and she's just been aggressive and just saying, I want, and this is what I need. And finally somebody's listening and she can relax and get comfortable and get into bed, and somebody can serve her breakfast in bed or whatever. All of these things, whatever you like, whatever that might not make some people comfortable, but maybe something else does, you know, going to an art museum, taking a trip, whatever you love is what we can step into now.
Okay, so I have the perfect here. I'm going back to the Wonder Woman movie.
Okay,
which
good.
Lori does not have the experience to know how much I adored Wonder Woman. We did a couple of shows on it. I just thought it was a game changer. But so think of the moment in Wonder Woman. If you haven't seen it, you need to. I'm still promoting that movie. Where she goes and she crosses the line and she's in her Venus and Aries mode and she gets rid of all of the people that are holding that town hostage.
Yep.
And that's her, that's Venus and Aries. That's that Wonder Woman moment. Then that night she goes upstairs with Chris Pine to experience love for the first time with the male. And that's her in Taurus. So see, is that not the perfect analogy for what you're talking about?
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Perfect. Right? And they were even drinking something, and she was just, you know, it was everything. All the senses were alive there. So with that full moon in that full moon in Libra and Venus in Taurus, this is setting us up for the next few weeks. One of the pieces, there's many other things happening, but one of the pieces is really enjoying whatever we enjoy in life. And then on April 2nd, so this is going on during the full moon, but on April 2nd, Mars and Saturn conjunct in Capricorn. Now, they're known as the two malefics, Mars and Saturn, the malefics, because astrology has the benefics, two planets, Venus and Jupiter, who are beneficial, and the malefics, which is Mars and Saturn, who are not malefic. The word means means not very helpful. But the big but is both of these planets enjoy the sign that they're in. So when they come together like this, and this will, I think it will happen again, but this is the first time in years. I don't even know the last time this happened. I couldn't even find it. It's back hundreds of years just because the timing is off. These guys together, it's about hard work, and really it's more than the Aries go, go, go. It's just we have stress that's created when these two are together, because we're supposed to be really not screwing off and playing a whole lot. We're supposed to be working hard. And these guys come together, again, they've been coming together for the last few weeks up until this point, and we have to be ready for it. Mars wants us to take action, but in Capricorn, with Saturn in Capricorn, it's like, is this really related to the long-term goals? So it sounds like for all of Aries so far, we've been making personal decisions, and I want us to continue to make personal decisions, really make all of our decisions, again, I'll repeat, based on what we want and need, not what we think is good for anybody else. We have to make sure it resonates with us, because if we don't, the energies of these two malefics don't work out well. People who are just sitting back on their laurels waiting for something to happen, this is not going to be easy for you. Because there are, I like to make things as positive as I can, but these two guys together really say, we have to have a plan. We need to work towards it. And this is important energy to move us to whatever our next stage is. Whatever business choices you're making, whatever business choices you've made, this is the stage where we can actually prove that whatever it is, that we can embody more of an authority figure, whatever. We all have our own little things, so make it any more specific.
And one of the things I want the viewers to remember, she calls them
Malefic, yeah.
Malefics. All I can think of is Maleficent.
Maleficent, I know.
Maleficent, yeah. But
well, she was she had a reputation of being evil, but there was this core that was really strong and committed And that's what this is all about.
Committed, focused,
Yep.
discipline.
Yes.
And so one of the things I want the viewers to remember here is that you're going to be presented the challenges you need to get where you want to go. And if you embrace the challenge, it
Yep.
will go well, and
Yep.
you'll be that much closer to your goals. If you fumble the challenges, then you will be equally that far away from your goal and headed in the wrong direction.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting because right after this, right after April 2nd, which is right around when our next taping day is.
Yes.
April 2nd is what, a Monday, I think?
I'm getting there. Hold on.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a Monday.
So we're taping that day. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're taping. So on that taping day, it's going to be very interesting because what we're going to do is we're going to see this evidence of the whiners and complainers. It's always the world's fault. Why can't I get a break? Polarized from the, oh my God, this happened, and I thought for a second, and I went, nope, this is going to be good, and I can't believe
Yeah.
it just pushed me forward.
Yeah.
So you get to choose. Just know it was your choice because the energy is not going to change.
No.
It's going to show up. What are you going to do with it?
Right.
Yeah. We have to
Exactly.
stop procrastinating. We just have to do it, you know. There's so many people that just have so many plans, and you're always hearing them talk about their plans year in and year out. And it is related to work and business because it's all Capricorn. It's not, you know, I hope someday to live in Florida, which I do, in the winter. And that's a long-term goal, but that's not a Capricorn-related goal because that's more about just leisure and staying where it's warm in the wintertime so it'll get so many colds. I don't know, you know, that kind of a thing. So don't procrastinate. Really work on your goals. And if you feel you don't have a skill set that you need, go get it.
Right.
Now's the time to go get it.
Exactly.
Learn more things. Do what you can.
Yeah, it's time for me to go to Toastmasters so I can learn how to become comfortable speaking in public.
Yeah, you should do that.
I've been
But I've
thinking of
actually
doing that.
considered joining Toastmasters.
I have
used to
too.
belong, Yeah.
Yeah,
I have too, because
my,
I'm really
son's-
not that great at talking in front of people.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. This is different,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I know. We're not people.
if there's a camera, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it at all. But if there's people,
the greatest star. She's by far.
hardly.
Okay, what else is going on?
All right, that's a lot of information so far this month, isn't it? Holy
Yeah.
It's a
Toledo.
lot.
It's a lot.
We're only up to the 2nd of April.
After the 2nd of April, nothing exists. No. Wow. That's a lot. No,
We're done.
No, we're not done. Let me look. I want to get this in tune here. Tax day is interesting. April 5th.
On April, we're going to need a 5th. Is that what you said?
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Works for me. What kind of
My
5th would you
cold
like,
voice.
Lori?
Jack Daniels.
I'm wide open.
I like Jack Daniels.
You want a Jack?
I
Yeah,
love
a
Jack
fifth-
Daniels and
fifth of
Diet
Jack?
Pepsi. I don't drink it very often because I like it and I know better.
I'm a big tequila fan. I love tequila.
Oh, no, I get a really
Love
hangover with that. 2 of those and I'm done.
Never. I've never had a hangover.
Yeah, me, not with Jack. I'm fine with Jack.
So Jack and Coke, margaritas. I know what to bring next on April 2nd. We're gonna have a full bar operating off.
We should have done that last month because it's all Pisces, and Pisces is all about drinking and just kind of like feeling a little buzz, so the edges are a little fuzzy. You know, that's Pisces.
Well, I have to tell you, just very quickly, when I was, because on the honeymoon we were at an all-inclusive, so it's all you can eat and all you can drink.
Oh, nice.
And we actually, just on the trip down, got given bottles of before we even got there, bottles of wine and nip bottles and all. I showed up with a backpack full of alcohol that I got from Boston. I didn't take it from the house.
Yeah.
Right.
From Boston to Carousel, all I'd come on getting was people giving us happy honeymoon gifts and telling us what a cute couple we were and stuff like this.
Nice. You are a cute couple.
I had to bring all that alcohol home because all the alcohol at the honeymoon were covered. And I was going to drink the free stuff.
Nice.
would've.
Yeah.
And the bartender there, one of the regular bartenders who actually gave us a going-away gift. We had staff giving us going-away gifts when we
That's
left.
nice.
Okay, but there was a bartender there that every time he was on and we were there, would come up and make us our special honeymoon drink.
Nice.
Like just uniquely for both of us based
Right,
on what
right.
we liked.
Nice.
So speaking of drinking, go ahead.
Nice, something fruity.
Well, you know,
All
it
right.
was Jeff and I.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I was thinking, you know, I like Pinot Grigio too, so it's a nice, it's usually it's kind of a fruity, dry wine, and I was thinking, well, if I was going to have anything, it'd be kind of fruity, but there you go. I wasn't meaning it towards you, but that works too. All right, did I talk about April 2nd?
Yes, that's where you left off. Move on.
Move on to April 5th. Mercury retrograde squares Saturn today. So what we do is we look back to March 10th when it was there before, and we look at the agreements, contracts, verbal arrangements that we made back around March 10th, and we're going to be working on that a little bit more. And we also have that, this is a little further ahead, but I'll only talk about it now, April 26th, which is in the time of Taurus, but that's also when Mercury makes that square to Saturn. When Mercury squares Saturn, especially as the planet, when it's going direct, retrograde, direct, so 3 times, that's why things happen in threes, people always wonder that. To me, I believe that's where it came from. When we always say, oh, things happen in threes, it's because of the retrogrades. We get 3 opportunities to work something through at 3 different levels. So Mercury in Aries communicating, oh, this deal, oh my God, that seems so great. Yeah, I'm going to sign, I'm going to do it. This is perfect for me. And then when we have that retrograde hit on April 5th and then the direct hit on April 26th, Mercury to Saturn, we'll be able to fine-tune those agreements that we made.
So the Web of Light Expo this year is going to be, again, when Mercury is retrograde. It was retrograde last year during the Mercury.
I don't believe so. I believe it's when it has the second hit.
It's the
Because it
21st,
turns,
22nd,
Mercury
yeah, or
direct is on April 15th.
Okay, because I thought you said that it was going direct on the 26th, but that's when
On
that's
the
hitting.
26th is the third and final hit as it's moved forward. So
Now,
no,
this
we're
is-
good.
Now, I think that we need to have an intervention here because this show does not promote violence. And you're talking about, you know, Mercury hitting somebody, so I think we need to talk. Is this a frustration left over because Venus wouldn't like?
Yes. That's a personal choice. I don't know.
Obviously, that's what it is.
Personal choice.
Go ahead.
So we get that final look at whatever was going on. So pay attention, March 10th, 5th, and 26th when Mercury squares Saturn. So again, we could really sign contracts, make arrangements, reconsider what we said or agreed to. It happens all the time, but these are 3 dates. This is what astrology gives us. It informs us. We've had this conversation before too. Astrology informs us of what can be, what energies are, and we can use it or not use it. And it's just going to be there, whether you like it or not. April 7th, Venus in Taurus makes a trine aspect to Saturn in Capricorn. This is when she's getting really serious. It's a fast hit. It only lasts for a couple of days. But we feel secure and really grounded in our relationships and the arrangements that we've made relating to love or financial decisions, because Venus in Taurus has a lot more to do with what we value and how we earn money than it does relationships. But we always talk about both. But since it's Venus and Taurus with Saturn and Capricorn, this is a beautiful opportunity, even though Mercury's retrograde, for an advance in your career. Look at what I've done. I didn't get that raise back then. I think I should get it now. Perfect opportunity during Mercury retrograde and Venus making the aspect to Saturn. So if you feel that you need something or you need to be rewarded or for your hard work or something that didn't happen before, now is an opportunity this week of April 7th to do that.
And the opportunity is for the whole week, or is it just for a couple of days?
You know, it can be just for a couple of days, but Venus is coming up to Saturn, and as she's coming up, it takes 5 or 6 days. We're going to be feeling that energy. And the days, when I say, is when the aspects are exact, and that's the actual peak of it. So there's always this lead up to it. Like, think of it this way, as we're getting ready to go on vacation. You know, we're excited, we're packing, what do I need, what do I want to do? And we get all excited, and then the day we go, that's the exact aspect. And then we're there, and we're relaxed, and we're enjoying it, and all the preparation is paid off. So that's kind of what exact aspects are like. It's like lead up to the moment something is supposed to happen.
So that's a good time, if you make money through your relationships, to get a double hit.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
I make my money through relationships. I have clients. That's a relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
She didn't say exclusively romantic
She did not.
relationships.
She did not. And that's what people tend to, in my experience, compartmentalize astrology. And they don't realize that it's every part of your life.
Every part.
It's not just your romantic relationships or your work relationships.
Right.
It's everything.
Everything. And there are so many different things going on at the same time. And that's the thing about astrology is when I'm talking, or even when we're learning, we have to isolate and compartmentalize things. We have to do that so you can like get an idea about what's going on, but there's always other things going on behind us.
You know, and
constantly.
there are certain careers that are out there, and people that are in those careers should be paying attention to this right now, that are all about relationships. Sales is all about
Absolutely.
relationship. All three of us, the work that we do with people,
Right,
it's
right.
all
Yeah.
about relationships. I
Exactly.
mean, you know, so there are very relationship-oriented careers.
Yep.
We're sitting with Saturn in the home of business in the astrology chart.
Yep.
So it makes sense to me that very relationship-oriented businesses, that this is going to be, this has a potential of being a little sweet time, to
Yeah.
close an extra sale,
Yep.
to bring something in, you know, so it's,
And here's Venus on, just to add to everything we've all just said, April 11th, Venus then makes that trine aspect to Mars. Because if we remember a few days back, Mars and Saturn were together, and Mars has moved on, so now Venus has caught up, and she's making a 120-degree angle to Mars in Capricorn. And this is about working on, again, Mars in Capricorn, working on those projects, those business things that make sense to us, whatever it is for each of us. Venus and Taurus, let's, again, just really focus on the financial piece. We all work to earn a living. It doesn't matter what our profession is. We all work to earn a living, and this is about what we really value. What's the most important thing in what you're doing? And volunteering is good, but the one thing that comes to my mind is are we volunteering or spending too much time doing things that are not productive? This is another overall theme of the month because of the Mars, the Sun connecting with the Mars in Capricorn, and all these other things connecting with Capricorn, is valuing our own time and making sure that we're not wasting our time doing things that we don't want to be doing anymore. Now, they all have their service, their purpose. I have some things I volunteer for, and pretty soon I'm going to be slowly moving out of them too, because it's taking too much of my time, and I'm not able to focus in other areas that I want to grow in. So we all have that. That's just a normal process of growth. So know that if this is coming up in your life today, this month, this is appropriate to slowly release things that are not, just feel like dead weight now. Didn't mean they didn't have their value, but they no longer have the value that they need. Perfect timing.
so do we need to tell that 93-year-old woman to get out of that orphanage and go back to work?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'm just
You
checking.
can stay.
No, what she's doing,
Yeah.
it has value.
Yes.
At 93, I think she earned some time
She
off.
can do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
You know, if that's what she wants to do.
Anything she
Yeah.
can do at
Good for her.
93, she should be applauded for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree.
The final thing I want to talk about while the sun is in Aries is actually the new moon that we have in Aries, because over the last 6 months and still for another 5 or 6, the new moons are all at the end of the zodiac sign. And so the new moon in Aries, and that is on Sunday the 15th. It's not till 10 p.m. East Coast, but that's when we can really, we've had the whole month so far of Aries, almost all of it, to figure out what it is that we want for us. Really focus on Aries, what it is that I want for me. And then when we have the new moons are all about setting goals relating to that zodiac sign. New moon in Aries, setting goals related to what I need. I easily blah, 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 fill in the blank, what you want. If I easily manifest, whatever you want, start setting goals for that. And we can do that from any time after 10 p.m. East Coast is when that new moon is. Before the new moon is not a new moon. A flower is not open till it's open. So we need to know that if you are into setting new moon goals, which is a great idea, the first 48, 72 hours is perfect time to use that energy to set goals relating to what I need. What do I want?
So at 10 o'clock on Sunday night, April 15th, there are going to be millions of Americans that are going to make the goal that next year they're not going to wait till the weekend of tax day to start their
Yes.
taxes.
I know.
Yes.
How many people do you think are going to make that goal?
I know, but here's the point. Mercury goes direct on that day. Don't wait.
Oh,
Don't wait.
Yeah.
That is a day. I don't think Mercury retrograde is a big deal. It is for some people, but to me, the days that any of the planets, all the planets retrograde except the sun and the moon, and the day that they change direction is the day that they're standing still. And when they're standing still, they're not moving, and we can feel a little stagnant, or we're not moving. So the day that Mercury goes stationary is always the bigger day as opposed to when it's retrograde. So the day it goes stationary is April 15th at 5 in the morning, 5:21 a.m. is when it's stationary. That means for 48 hours before and 48 hours after, it is not moving at all. So we have, it's more than just one day. So if we file our taxes in New England, usually that day after tax day is Patriots Day, when they have a big race and stuff. In Boston, in our area, to file taxes is closed on that Monday always. So probably New England will get till the 17th. So wherever our taxes go, it goes into Boston typically. And so we'll have that. And that's the day that Saturn goes retrograde. Saturn goes retrograde on April 17th. I'm going to tell you, we have planets just stopping and not moving. Saturn's stationing for, it will stay in 1 degree for months. So it's 8 degrees of Capricorn, and that is just mean like really get a chance to focus on what we want our long-term goals to be. I think I said that at least 100 times in this hour, but that is what we're really focusing on this
so
month.
this is not a good year to play fast and loose with your taxes because
No.
Saturn is sitting right there.
Yeah.
Going,
He
know.
is follow the rules, file early, follow the rules. Even if you owe money, make sure your extension gets filed way ahead of time because the rules are just, I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways,
So I got a quick question for you because
Okay.
we're just about out of time, but not quite. When you did the numerology astrology special for 2018, when Angie was on back for that day and you guys did it, which part 2 is coming out. There was a little kerfuffle. One came out, but 2 never came out.
oh,
So 2 will be coming out. Will have come out by the time the show airs.
okay.
But it's from the last 6 months of the year.
It is, so that's fine, yeah.
But we talked about that this was going to be a year when a lot of stuff was going to be coming up, a lot of stuff coming up from out of the shadows and a lot of stuff. Is there anything with Aries, the illumination of the sun in Aries, which I know happens every year,
Yep.
but with what's going on, with stuff coming up, is it going to be a heavy month of people getting exposed or things coming to the surface or the
I think people, what was,
falling
yes,
of
in a
false
way.
gods?
In a way, because people, all of a sudden, you're just going to really see people for who they are, right? Because of all the Aries energy that's present, people are just going to be saying what they think and just doing what they want. It's just energy that we're all pushed to do since we have a lot of planets in that sign. And Mercury retrograde in Aries isn't really going to think things through. It's just going to spout it out. So I think that's what it is. Not necessarily darker stuff coming up, because that was a lot of the Scorpio stuff later, the end of last year. But Saturn and Capricorn, though, it will, in a lot of ways, there you go, that's where it came from.
Yeah.
It will, in a lot of ways, show us those the falseness of who people may be. You know, the people who,
False gods.
False gods. Yeah, we'll
Yep.
say it.
Yep, false gods. We're gonna
Yes.
see. We're gonna see some
I think-
falling of false gods.
Yeah, I think that will show up,
Okay.
and a lot of that will show
Good.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap down this episode of our, the astrology in the time, the energies in the time of Aries,
Yep.
with our Light Astrologer Dorothy Morgan and our guest host for the month, Lori Otto, you're going to be given an opportunity today, this month, these upcoming energies, to step to a new level of your greatness. And you can step into a new level of greatness, or you can step into a new level of dung. It's your choice. But don't blame anybody else for what you chose. Namaste.